Good morning, people. Right now it is a Monday morning, fresh and early here, just before 10 o'clock in the morning, because right now it is Labor Day here on Guam. Yes, I'm still on Guam. I've been here now for about 2.5 months, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. And today I'm here at Asan Beach. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's just another beach here on Guam, but this beach is actually very famous for some history, such as bombings and, war and things like that. And actually that's why these waters right along here, right behind me, are well known for snorkeling and scuba diving. But anyways, today's point is to talk about Guam, to give you a better understanding of Guam from what I perceived during my time here. And that's why you can see the title of this video is 20 Truths of Guam. And these aren't the only truths, right? There's much more. There's a lot that I can't cover, a lot that I don't know. But the whole point of this video, this kind of walk and talk here on Guam, is to tell you about the things that I've kind of come to understand, come to witness, things that I've kind of seen uncover during my time here. Now, one thing I want to note is, even though I've been here for 2.5 months on Guam, I got here after the typhoon. Typhoon Marar, that really, really dangerous, really powerful typhoon that landed on Guam, or I should say passed through Guam, was in May of 2023. I got here in June of 2023. So I am seeing a lot of Guam after the typhoon. And from what I understand is that the typhoon actually revealed a lot about Guam, a lot of its struggles, a lot of its negatives, and much, much more. Well, as you guys might be able to tell, it is raining. I just got soaked. Rain just came out of nowhere. It's actually super, super cloudy right now. Can't even see. I mean, take a look at that. Just like foggy, cloudy looking. The radar said there was no rain. I don't know where it came from, so right now I'm trying to wait it out. So it looks like maybe it's gonna be, 30 minutes or something until this big, huge cloud passes over. So I'll see you guys in just about 30 minutes or so. Now, when I speak on these 20 truths here, I think a lot of people will side with me, a lot of people will agree, and then of course there's gonna be that group of people that are just gonna say this is just a negative video about Guam. And the reality of this video isn't to make it seem negative, to make Guam seem like a bad place. The reality of this video is just to make people aware of how it really is here. When you visit a new place, you don't truly understand it fully until you've spent a lot of time there and you've gone to places and you've talked to people that you wouldn't normally do or talk to when you were just visiting a place as a tourist for like 1 week or so. So with that said, let's get into the 20 truths of Guam that you should know. Alright, these aren't in any particular order. This is just the order I put them in. I quickly threw the list together in about 10 minutes, so I didn't think too hard about it. These are just things that were on the top of my mind and that have been on the top of my mind for 2.5 months. So let's get started. Number 1 is nature. When it comes to the nature on the island, on Guam, it is single-handedly the best part about Guam. I think Guam has so much natural beauty, from the jungle to the beaches to the caves to the mountains, small mountains, little hills, whatever you want to call them, that are in the south. There is just so much to offer in terms of nature here on Guam. Alright, number 2 is about tourists. Some people might think, oh, maybe when tourists come to Guam, they visit everywhere. There are some tourists that like to go everywhere around the island. They go to different points and stuff like that. But the truth is, I believe most tourists stay in one area. That would be Tuman, that would be Tamuning, and maybe some other places. But this is like the main place where all the tourist shops are. Your shopping, your beachfront, your hotels, and everything like that. Even where I am now, this is Ipao Beach. It is a very popular tourist location because it's very accessible by foot from where all the hotels are. So I believe that's where most tourists are staying, and they don't go to the other areas, the other villages, the very far ones away, because they need a car to get there. They need to take a taxi, and it could be costly and take some time. So a lot of them will stay just in the tourist zone, which there's nothing really wrong with that. But the truth is, a lot of tourists don't know what's outside of that area. They don't know the real Guam outside of there. Is weather. The truth about that is that the weather is crazy here sometimes. Like today, I started the video, it was nice and sunny, there was no rain, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, this big cloud comes out and just downpours and covers the island in rain. Not the whole island, because a lot of the times when it does rain here, it's just part of the island and not everywhere. But right now, it's nice and sunny. Behind me, you have a little bit of a breeze, but just behind the camera, there are some dark clouds. So the weather changes quite often and very quickly because of being an island. You know, it's small, and so there's a lot of weather changing around here, especially at this time of the year in the summer, as it is typhoon season. Although people may assume, well, Guam is an island, so it must be beautiful all the time. No, sometimes it rains and rains and rains and doesn't stop. And then sometimes you have stretches, you know, weeks where it doesn't rain at all and it's sunny and it's beautiful. So the truth is that the weather can change very frequently. Number 4 is that no one knows how to drive because the rules of the road don't exist. There are rules, of course, because there needs to be rules everywhere, but nobody follows them. Most of the speed limits are 35. In my opinion, they're probably too slow for most of the areas. For the tourist area, sure, right? Maybe inside of a neighborhood, sure. But on the main roads, like 35 is way too slow. So sometimes you have people going 35, sometimes you have people going 45. 45 is kind of average, I think. And then you have people going 70. And then there's a lot of crashes and a lot of people get killed because a lot of people are driving just crazy, right? And a lot of people don't know how to drive. Maybe they don't even have a license. Maybe they've never driven before. It's their first time and they're a new driver. It's so hard to tell because when you are on the road with other drivers, it gets scary sometimes, especially during the rain. So whatever rules there are, most people aren't obeying them. All right, number 5 is that the tourist zone, like I just talked about, is super developed. It is super perfect looking, right? Because the goal is to make the area where the tourists go look perfect. So that way, you know, these tourists are telling more people to come to Guam. That way there's no like imperfections and people aren't judging Guam. So having this tourist zone like up to date always and, you know, being recovered very quickly from the typhoon, it allows this area to just look perfect. And in my opinion, it seems like they try to make it look like California or they try to make it look like Florida because of the architecture and just the style of it in terms of being next to the beach. That's just my opinion now. And I would say if somebody said, is it true it kind of looks like the US? Well, yeah, because it is a territory of the US, so they're gonna make it look just as close to it as they can. And let me tell you, outside of the tourist area, it looks completely different. All right, number 6 is that the government here says one thing and does another thing. And I think most people will agree. I think there's a lot of people here that have questions for the government, that maybe don't agree with what they do. But, you know, the government always says they're gonna do this and then it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen for a very long time. And that's one of the things that people probably don't know if they're just tourists. They probably think, oh, maybe the government's good and the government helps the people, but I think a lot of people struggle thanks to the government not helping so much. And it's not just here, of course, it's everywhere in the world. The government just sometimes doesn't do the things the way they should do. Not saying that I could do it better or that somebody else could do it better, but it's just one of the things you see after being here for so long. For instance, you know, after the typhoon happened, I'm pretty sure the government made a lot of statements and stuff saying how they're gonna recover and do this and that, and then, you know, the government gave orders to all these companies to fix certain things. Well, the thing is, I don't think the government follows up with what they're supposed to do because there's a lot that is lacking. And the truth is, the island is still recovering from the typhoon. And, you know, no matter what type of storm it is, typhoon, hurricane, tornado, earthquake, you know, it's a very long-term process in terms of recovery. But here, I think things are just recovering a lot slower than maybe they should. With that said, I would say that the government probably isn't what it should be. All right, number 7 is about the energy on the island. People may think because it is a US territory, you know, the US is a really wealthy nation with good resources and stuff like that. Well, the truth is here, there isn't enough energy in the island or on the island, you know, being produced and stored to serve everybody. So the truth is now, which is September as I'm filming this, there are power outages quite often, not due to the storm, not due to weather, just that there isn't enough power in circulation, so they need to turn off some stuff to regenerate some power and to get a circulation going. And I don't know exactly how it goes, but the truth is that energy source on the island is lacking, and I think that's why they're actually building a nuclear power plant here, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, the island's energy source is insufficient for the demand that is here on the island. So the next thing is that there just aren't enough people to complete certain jobs that are being worked on. Whether it's construction of a building, it's fixing a road, whatever it is, sometimes it takes forever to get something done because there aren't enough people working. And with that comes the next one. The unemployment rate is so high. In 2019, the unemployment rate was 6.1 or something in 2019, which is high a little bit maybe, but it's not as bad as what it is now, because as of 2023, I believe it's over 17%, which is insane. And a lot of that is due to the pandemic, of course, because a lot of companies went out of business and people lost their jobs, and now people are living without a job. So it's a super serious situation, and that without all these people working, jobs take longer and things get postponed. So basically nothing follows schedule, and you will feel the island time here. People do things slow. Life is kind of slow here. Now the next thing I have to say is that the construction here, the construction is just crazy. You know, sometimes they're working on a road, they're improving it, they're fixing it, whatever they're doing, it takes forever, it creates traffic to be even worse, and mostly talking about road work, right? Because in mainland United States, I remember a lot of the road work on main roads and stuff gets done at nighttime, because then it's not messing with the traffic and all that, and it's just a better time to work because it's cooler out. Well, here it seems that all the construction takes place at peak hours during the day when people are driving, so the traffic gets even worse. And that's another bad thing about it. Maybe it's because they don't have enough people working in construction. Maybe they don't want to pay the people the extra wages to work overnight. I don't know what it is, but it is super annoying. The next one is maybe the importation and exportation of things or products, right? So shipping something, buying something online, shopping online. The problem is because the island is so remote, it takes things a very long time to get here, it has to go through so many processes, and it's a real pain in the head. And especially, pain in the head or pain in the neck or whatever you want to say. But I believe the US has some sort of laws where like certain things must be shipped through US ports in order to come to the territory, which makes things more difficult and things take longer, rather than maybe getting most of the products from Asia, as it's closer to Asia than it is to mainland United States. So the shipping and all of that is just a headache sometimes. It's just easier to buy something in person as it's already there and ready at your fingertips, but the problem with that is it's more expensive. And shipping also is very expensive. Another thing about Guam is that actually the local people that live here, you know, they may find life difficult. Some of them may be living very good, you know, depending on their situation. But the bottom line is, I think most of the people here are very friendly. The ones that I've talked to, the ones that I've encountered, everyone seems to be very friendly. There are some shady people and stuff that you can't really trust, but the majority of people I think here on Guam are nice. And even if they're from, you know, another island, they're from another part of Micronesia, say, or they're from here, they're from Philippines, they're from the US, everybody seems to get along okay, from my understanding. Oh God, I'm starting to sweat. The sun has come out right now. But the next thing I want to talk about is the homeless situation. Tourists, they might not think there are really homeless people here, but the truth is there's so many homeless people, and I've been experiencing it a lot lately, and it's so annoying. It's unfortunate for them, of course, but I think a lot of people choose to be homeless because of how expensive it is to live here and such. I like to go to the skate park, and there is a homeless group that have kind of set up fort there, and they're there all the time. They stink, they're smoking, they're loud, they're annoying, sometimes they cause trouble. And unfortunately, there are parts of the island, if you venture outside of the tourist areas, where you will see these homeless people living. Some of them are creating tents in like the jungle and all these places, and it seems that the government or the police, they're not really doing anything to stop them from disturbing other people sometimes, which is very unfortunate. Now, another thing I really want to talk about is the pollution. Now, the reason why I mentioned pollution is because pollution is a serious factor in today's world, especially when you live near water like the ocean. Well, here, there is so much pollution happening. I don't know about pollution into the water, but I'm really talking about throwing trash or dumping or legal dumping. Here on the island, after the typhoon happened, there was a lot of debris that needed to be moved away, and a lot of people didn't know what to do with it because the government took a while to figure out a situation to where it can be moved and it can be processed, so people just started dumping it. And you will drive in some places and you will see there is stuff dumped in the middle of the jungle, on the side of the road, like in waterways. A lot of people have trash, they just don't even throw their trash away, they throw it on the ground. You can see trash everywhere, and it's such a bad thing. It's such a negative side of the island that makes it look a little bit ugly in areas, and I wish people would stop that and they would pick up after themselves. I don't know who's doing it, if it is the local people, the island people, if it is the American people living here, who really knows? But the truth is that there is quite a bit of pollution happening on the island. And with pollution, one of the things I want to mention is that the cars. So basically, when somebody gets in a car crash or something happens to somebody's car, it breaks down and they can't afford to fix it or whatever, they just leave it. They leave it on the side of the road, they leave it somewhere, sometimes it's flipped over, and nobody removes it. The government doesn't remove it, no company removes it, there's no junkyard to bring it to. I don't understand. Now, if it happens in the tourist area, it's moved immediately. That way it doesn't negatively affect the image of the tourist area, which is a super bad thing. There's just so many broken and abandoned cars all over this island, in all different villages, and it's just crazy. Another big topic that I want to talk about that many people are talking about and many people would be questioning about or want to know more about is the abundance of stray dogs. Sometimes you see stray dogs everywhere in all different villages. Not as much in the tourist areas, again, as they kind of keep them away. In the non-tourist areas, you see stray dogs everywhere. You know, maybe a lot of people had dogs before and they couldn't afford to take care of them, so they let them go outside and be on their own. I don't know what the situation is, but a big problem with them is that they wander into your yard, they cause problems, and even sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes because it's every day, people are hitting them with their cars. Don't know if it's on accident, don't know if it's on purpose, whatever it is, but about every day I see one dog killed on the road. And it's very sad, it's super sad, but it's a problem that needs to be solved and needs to be worked on, and I don't know if anyone is working on it to make it better or to improve it, but something needs to be done fast. Now, another thing that kind of annoys me, and actually annoys probably all the people, is that if you are military here on the island, you have access to cheaper things, groceries and stuff like that. Like, I understand it's because you're military, they have their own like area and whatnot, but the problem is for the local people that live here, they can't access that because they're not part of military, so their items are more expensive because of the export tax and all of that. So for instance, say maybe a bag of Doritos, maybe it's $6 at the supermarket for everybody, but on base at the supermarket, the military base, it could be $2. It's really crazy, the difference of prices. Now, I don't know how accurate that is and for other items or certain products, but it is kind of annoying how expensive things are, and that is because of the presence of military. More military, the more the prices are going up, which leads me into the next one, the cost of living here on the island. So the cost of living here on the island is much higher than what the working wage is, you know? And I mean, if you take the working wage per hour and you kind of total it all up monthly for your bills and stuff, usually your bills are going to be higher. So here, the minimum wage is like $9.25 an hour, I think, $9.25. That is super, super low for such an expensive place. There are so many states in the United States that are, I should say, cheaper than here with such a higher wage, which is crazy. So a lot of people here are making a very low minimum wage and can't afford to, you know, support themselves, to support their family and stuff like that, right? And so even like a 1-bedroom, I think, runs at like $1,500, maybe a little bit less depending on where you are, but I think that's like an average price. So it is super expensive for people to live here, especially when they're not paid well at all. And that's really driven by the military. More military, the more the cost of living goes up, because military people get like stipends or something to pay for their rent and pay for their living. And another serious one that annoys me so much is that when you go outside the tourist areas, you go to more local streets, more local neighborhoods, the villages and stuff like that, the roads are terrible. Depending on what car you have, it is a nightmare driving on them roads. Such as where I'm staying, which is in the northern part of the island, the roads are so bad that sometimes I feel like the wheels are just gonna go flying off the car because there's so many holes. And the more it rains, the more the road gets worse. The thing that I hate the most about it is that the villages, the mayors for these villages, instead of improving the roads in one go the best way possible, they just kind of fill in the holes with some dirt and say, okay, it's good. And then next time it rains, the holes empty out, and there's a big hole because all the dirt has flooded elsewhere. So they don't actually fix the roads in the way they're supposed to by regrading them and putting down a new road and stuff. They only do that in the tourist areas. There are some potholes in the tourist areas, of course, but it's nothing like it is in the villages. And not only with the roads, but also the lighting for the roads. There are so many neighborhoods, so many roads where it's so dark that you can't see anything when you're driving down the road. You just need to rely on your lights from the car and hope they're very bright, right? And a lot of this could be maybe the storm knocked out a lot of lights, the typhoon and stuff, but they need to relight these neighborhoods, make the streets more lit up, make the intersections more lit up. That way it's safer for driving. So as I have said, as I have mentioned, Guam is a very beautiful island. It is definitely one of the most beautiful places I have been in terms of scenery and nature and things like that. But the interior, the infrastructure and things like that, it's just mind-blowing how it is, knowing that it is a U.S. territory. And now maybe other U.S. territories are like this, as I haven't really been to any other ones. But it's very unfortunate because I think the way life is here makes the people, not trust the government even more and more. It's super unfortunate that such a beautiful place like this kind of goes to waste in a way, and maybe that is, this past typhoon has really uncovered a lot of things, really shown people the true colors and whatnot. But when it comes to tourism, we're often blinded by what is really there. And I hope this video won't be too negative for somebody that will tell them, oh, don't come here. No. If you're a tourist and you're watching this, you should definitely come here and visit, because it is a very beautiful place. Your tourist dollars count, your tourist dollars matter, of course. And I think it is a very convenient place to come to if you are living close by, such as in Southeast Asia. Guam is only, a few hours of a flight from many countries in Southeast Asia, which makes it a very interesting and cool destination to go to, especially if you've never been to mainland United States. This gives you a piece of the United States. And for me, as a U.S. citizen, it's very nice that I can travel around Southeast Asia and then come here to Guam and not have to worry about any sort of visa situations, how long I'm going to stay and stuff like that. So this is like a really cool place to go and just take a break from traveling, internationally, and worrying about all those things that you have to worry about when you travel, like conversions of money and visas and hotels and just things, language, This is like a place that really helps me de-stress from travel, right? Before getting ready to travel again, which I'm hoping I'm going to travel very soon again. But the truth is, I think if somebody wants to say move to Guam, or they're thinking about moving to Guam, in my experience, my personal opinion after just a couple months is that it's a place you really have to think about. You have to think about, do you have enough money? Is it going to last you long enough? Are you going to be happy with your situation when you live here, depending on where you're going to live and so on? For me, I just don't think I could live here very long term, as it's difficult, even with some healthcare and stuff. It's better to go to a hospital off the island, as maybe the healthcare isn't as good here from what I've heard. And the crime rate here kind of high in some areas sometimes, and You know, there's not a very big police presence. You don't see any people getting pulled over for violations of speeding or traffic things, and just other situations that is a little bit different than living in another place like Asia, Southeast Asia, like the US. And don't get me wrong, there's so much crime in the US. So I know I said in the beginning of this video that the name of this video is the 20 truths about living on Guam or something like that. Well, maybe they're not just truths. Maybe it seems like they're mostly just, you know, things I hate or things I don't like. But the reality is they are things that I think most people would bring to discussion when they are asked about Guam or how they really feel about it, right? Now, these are just my opinions. Like I said, this is just from my experience. Maybe I'm perceiving it in a wrong way, or I'm perceiving it as too negative. I don't know, but this is just how life seems here from my point of view. Now, there are plenty of other things. Like I said, there's plenty of other things that I do enjoy about Guam, so maybe I'll make another video soon that just talks about the positive, just talks about why I like being here or why I spend time here and so on. But these are just things I hope you can look at and think to yourself like, I wonder why. I wonder why there are these problems, or I wonder why nothing is being done. Or maybe this video will help you speak to somebody here, like the government or something, and try to get something done, because the truth is I won't be here for a while, or I won't be here forever. So to me, it's not worth me trying to contact the government or trying to contact a place to fix some certain situation. And I do hope things improve in the future, but it looks like life might get more difficult as global politics, geopolitics, you know, with wars and occupying areas are getting much more tough. It seems like life is going to be more difficult with a higher US military presence here. So who knows how the future will go. Let's just hope everything improves. Alright guys, well, I think that's gonna be it for this video here, this kind of like walk and talk. I thought I would voice my opinion after living here for several months and so on. But I would love to hear from you guys. If you're local, if you're a tourist, if you have opinions about this. I know a lot of these points kind of build on one another, and maybe it's not exactly 20, or maybe it's a little bit more than 20. But I would love to hear your input about it. Leave it in the comments. We can get a little discussion going. But yeah, that's going to be it for this little rant. I'm actually going to go cool off, maybe go to the beach or something. But I will see you guys soon in another video, hopefully from Guam. Peace.